everyone, I'm Charlie Mike Tilarsena from Group 4 and our topic is all about exceptions and assertions. And let me define first the exception. Based on our definition, exceptions are objects that represent errors that may occur in a Java program. So, ang exception daw po ay mga bagay na kumakatawan sa mga error na maaring mangyari sa isang Java program. And also, the term exceptions is shorthand for phrase exceptional event. An exception is an event which occurs during the execution of a program that disrupts the normal flow of a program's instructions. And there are several reasons behind the occurrence of exceptions, and these are some conditions where an exception occurs. The first reason is whenever a user provides invalid data, the file requested to be accessed does not exist in the system, when the Java Virtual Machine or JVM runs out of memory, and lastly, network drops in the middle of communications. Exception is to check the specific conditions to be checked during execution of the program to prevent the program from terminating. So, ang exception po daw ay ito ang paraan upang suriin ang mga tiyak na kondisyon na susuriin sa panahon ng execution ng isang program upang ma-prevent ang pagwawakas ng isang program. Exceptions indicates conditions that a reasonable application might try to catch. So, ang exception ay ang nagpapahiwatig ng mga kondisyon na maaring subukang makuha ng isang makatwirang application. There are mainly two types of exception in Java, which is the check exception and uncheck exception. Check exceptions are exceptions that a Java application should be able to cope with. For example, if an application reads data from a file, it should be able to handle the file not found exception after all. There is no guarantee that the expected file is going to be where it is supposed to be. Anything could happen on a file system which an application would have no clue about. It is also known as compile time exceptions, as these exceptions are checked by the compiler during the compilation process to confirm whether the exception is handled by the programmer or not. So, ang check exceptions ay kilala rin bilang isang compile time exceptions dahil ang exceptions na ito ay sinusuri ng compiler sa panahon ng proseso ng compilation upang kumpirmahin kung ang exceptions ay pinangasiwaan ng programmer o hindi. Next is uncheck exception. The unchecked exceptions are those exceptions that occur during the execution of the program. Hence, they are also referred to as runtime exceptions. So, ang mga unchecked exception daw po ay ang mga exception na nangyayari sa panahon ng pagpapatupad ng isang program. Kaya tinutukoy din ang mga ito bilang mga exception sa runtime. These exceptions are generally ignored during the compilation process. They are not checked while compiling the program. So, ang mga exceptions po daw, ito ay karaniwang binabaliwala sa panahon ng proseso ng compilation. Hindi sila sinusuri habang kinocompile ang program. So, what is the difference between check and uncheck exceptions? Check exceptions are checked at runtime of the program, while uncheck exceptions are checked at the compile time of the program. Sinusuri ang mga check exceptions sa runtime ng program habang ang uncheck exception naman ay sinusuri sa oras ng compile ng isang program. Next is check exceptions and uncheck exceptions. Both can be created manually. So, ibig sabihin, parehong maaring gawin ng mano-mano ang mga check exceptions at uncheck exceptions. The third difference is uncheck exception can be ignored in a program, but check exceptions cannot be ignored in a program. So, ang uncheck exceptions daw po ay maaaring baliwalain sa isang program, ngunit ang check exceptions ay hindi maaaring baliwalain sa isang program. And lastly, uncheck exceptions are mainly programming mistakes. So, ibig sabihin po ang mga uncheck exceptions daw po ay pangunahing mga pagkakamali sa isang programming. And to better understand the exceptions, let's now proceed to the example.
To better understand the topic of assertion and exception in Java, first, open the Java IDE apps, and the next one, we create example of exception in Java. Just click add sign to create Java file. Then, example naman po natin dito is exception Java. Then, sa package name po is example. Then, just click the create main function para po lumabas po yung public static void main. Then, okay. Ito na po. Then, sa paggawa po ng exception, first thing to do is to just type string, then put a square bracket, then example po natin na ilalagay is names, then just put equal sign, then lagay po tayo ng curly bracket. Dito po maglalagay po tayo ng 3 example ng mga pangalan. Then lagay po tayo ng quotation mark sign. Example po Charlie. Then the second one example, lagay muna po tayo ng ganyan. Then the next example, name princess. Then the third one example, Raynan. And in the last put a semicolon. Then the next one naman po is just type system println. Then sa loob po netong open and close parenthesis, ilagay po natin yung example na names. Then lagay po tayo ng square bracket. Then sa loob po, ilagay po natin kung which name na gusto nyong i-print. Ito po, example is number 1. Then okay na po. Pag rinan po natin ito, the output will be the name of princess. Because ang simula po ng number na kay Charlie is 0. Then the next one na example po, the name of princess is number 1 po. Then Raynan is the number 3. Then print po natin ang number 1, kaya po ang output ay ang pangalan ni princess. That's all for our topic of assertion and exception. Thank you po.
And now we are done by exceptions, and let's now proceed to assertions. Based on our definition, an assertion allows testing the correctness of any assumptions that have been made in the program, and assertion is achieved using the assert statement in Java. So, ang isang assertion daw po ay nagbibigay daan ng pagsubok sa kawastuhan ng anumang mapagpapalagay na ginagawa sa isang program, at nakakamit din ito gamit ang assert statement sa Java. Assertions are mainly used to check logically impossible situation. So, pangunahing ginagamit ang mga assertion upang suriin ang mga logically impossible situations. For example, they can be used to check the state a code expects before it starts running or states after it finishes running. Unlike sa normal exceptions and error handling, assertions are generally disabled at runtime. There are two types of assertion, which is the hard assertion and soft assertion. In hard assertions, it is an assertion that throws the assert exception when the test case is failed. In the case of hard assertions, you can handle the error by using a catch block like a Java exception. Ang hard assertions daw po ay isang assertion na nagtatapon ng assert exception kapag nabigo ang isang test case. Sa kaso ng hard assertions, maaari mong pangasiwaan ang error sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng catch block tulad ng Java exception. In soft assertion, it is a type of assertion that do not show an exception when an assertion fails and would continue with the next step after assert statement. So, ang soft assertion daw po ay isang uri ng mga assertion na hindi naglalagay ng exception kapag nabigo ang isang assertion at magpapatuloy sa susunod na hakbang pagkatapos ng assert statement. So, what is the difference between hard assertion and soft assertion? Hard assertions are used when you want to halt the execution of the test script or test method when the assert condition does not match with the expected result. While in soft assertion, it is used when the test script or test method need not be halted when the assertion condition does not meet the expected result. So yung pagkakaiba po nila, ginagamit ang hard assertion kapag gusto mong ihinto ang pagpapatupad ng test script o test method kapag hindi tumugma ang assert condition sa inaasang resulta. At ang soft assertion naman po ay ginagamit kapag ang test script o test method ay hindi kailangang ihinto kapag ang assertion condition ay hindi nakatugon sa inaasahang resulta. And to fully understand the topic of assertion, let's now proceed to the example.
To better understand the topic of assertion and exception in Java, first, open the Java IDE apps. Then click the add sign to create a Java file. In class name, example is Assertion Java. And sa package name naman po, lagay na lang po natin example. Then click create main function para po lumabas yung public static void main. Then, ito na po. Kapag gagawa po tayo ng example of assertion, first, just type string and put square bracket. Then, lagay po tayo ng example po natin is weekend. Lagay po tayo ng weekends. Then, put equal sign. Then, lagay po tayo ng curly bracket. Then, quotation mark. Which is, lagay po natin, kapag weekend po, lagay po natin ng example, Friday. Then, next example is Saturday. The third one, example, is Sunday. Ayan na po yung example natin sa weekend. Then, in the last is lagay din po tayo ng semicolon in the last. Next, lagay po tayo, insert po tayo ng, lagay po tayo ng assert weekends po yung linagay natin na example weekends. That length, lagay po tayo ng dalawang equal sign. Then, example po natin is number 2. Yan. Then, lagay po tayo ng semicolon. And next, type na po natin yung system .out.println. Then, sa loob po netong open and close parenthesis, lagay po tayo ng there, example po R, then add sign, weekends, that length, and add sign weekend in a week. Yan na po. Which is, kapag rinan po itong example ng assertion, ang lalabas po na output is, there are 3 weekends in a week. Which is, tatlo po yung linagay po nating example. First example is Friday, second is Saturday, and third one is Sunday. Ayan po ang example ng assertion.
And that's all our lesson for today, and I hope you learn a lot. Thank you for watching.